Hi everyone, this is DeFi Dad. Today I'm going to walk you through one of the more premier yield farming opportunities with Synthetix. This is step-by-step how I've become a liquidity provider in what is the Curve sBTC pool. This allows me then to earn a variety of different tokens. So there's currently 4 different forms of yield, and there's actually a 5th one to call out here. But by providing liquidity in the Curve synthetic Bitcoin or sBTC pool, I'm earning SNX, I'm earning REN, I'm earning the future governance token Curve CRV. This is yet to be released as of me recording this, but this is a token that will be very similar to Comp or the Balancer token. So that's another token that will have some value assigned to it according to whatever buyers and sellers agree upon in the markets. And then we also have the BAL Balancer token. So I've got those 4 versions, as well as the fact that being a liquidity provider in that pool means that I'm earning trading fees as folks are trading in between. Here we go. As folks are trading in between REN Bitcoin, Wrapped Bitcoin, and sBTC synthetic Bitcoin. So those are the 5 different forms of yield. And the reason I'm able to take advantage of this is Synthetix created this program that's running 10 weeks. They're a little over 2 weeks into it. And so there's still about 8 weeks left of opportunity to farm this yield. And it completes on August 28th. So the goal here was to create the most liquid Ethereum-based Bitcoin pool available to offer traders access to the lowest slippage for trades between sBTC, REN Bitcoin, and Wrapped Bitcoin. The reason that they've done this is at the heart of Synthetix is a decentralized exchange called Synthetix Exchange. So this is a place where I don't have to go through any sort of KYC. I can connect my wallet through MetaMask or whatever Ethereum wallet I use here, and then I'm able to trade with zero slippage between different synthetic cryptocurrencies, synthetic commodities like gold, synthetic currencies like the euro or the Japanese yen or the Australian dollar, the British pound, and so on. And then also even the Nikkei index and the FTSE 100. So it's really powerful stuff. And you can imagine eventually when some more premier equities show up on this, the day that you see something like an Apple stock or a Google stock, that'll be a big deal just because now I'm trading on chain with Ethereum without going through any sort of middlemen, and I'm gaining exposure to these, really premier equities or stocks that trade. So in order for me to trade on here, I ideally would like to unlock, the value of whatever I hold in Bitcoin. And so these folks have figured out that by using a curve pool, which allows us to trade between these different Ethereum powered tokens, which represent a one-to-one, they're a one-to-one representation of Bitcoin. They've also implemented the REN bridge. So that's REN as in powered by the REN protocol. And that means that now suddenly, if I flip this little switch up top, as a trader, I could come in here and say, I want to go trade on the Synthetix Exchange. You'll notice here that one token that I can trade with is sBTC. And so I could go here and I can essentially enter and exit through sBTC. And one way I could get into sBTC is I can deposit the Bitcoin token. So that's all of the utility and context behind this. Is it's really to enable traders to be able to get in and out of Synthetix Exchange. So for me to get started becoming a liquidity provider through this yield farming opportunity, I want to go to curve.fi/sbt/deposit. And I could actually just go to curve.fi, and then you can go here, look up sBTC, and then click on deposit here. When I get here, this will probably be unchecked for you, and you'll see these 3 different options. Now I could come in and I could say, let's pretend that I'm a little more savvy with the Ren bridge, and I've actually already minted some Ren Bitcoin, or maybe I traded for some on 1inch exchange. If you already have any of these tokens, you can just deposit these directly into Curve. Most of us, I think, are going to be coming from, Bitcoin, or maybe in this case, you're coming from wrapped Bitcoin. So if I type in this case, I could have 0.1 wrapped Bitcoin, and I could just then click deposit, and that would allow me then to become a liquidity provider. Curve will actually break up my wrapped Bitcoin into these 3 different tokens, and it'll break it up into whatever percentage is necessary. You'll notice below that this pool has about 2,200, or almost, what is that? Yeah, 2,229 Bitcoin in terms of value, which is about 20.2 million in terms of the US dollar value. And it has about 48% Ren Bitcoin, 32% wrapped Bitcoin, and 20% synthetic Bitcoin. So that's one way I could get involved in this, but instead I'm actually going to start with Bitcoin. And so I'm starting with Bitcoin as in like the native token of the Bitcoin network, Bitcoin BTC. And normally I wouldn't be able to do this. Like that's why this is such a big deal. The fact that you're able to use this application and ultimately take my Bitcoin and deposit it and come out with a certain amount of wrapped Bitcoin, synthetic Bitcoin, and Ren Bitcoin, so that I'm a liquidity provider. So what I'm going to do then is I'm going to designate here how much Bitcoin do I want to deposit. So I'm going to deposit 0.05 Bitcoin. And let's see here. So again, the way I got here is I clicked the little checkbox up here. If I don't click that, I don't have an option here to deposit Bitcoin. So I click that, I put in, I'm going to deposit 0.05 Bitcoin, which is about $500 of Bitcoin today. You'll notice that after the Ren virtual machine fees, which is basically the app that's powering the back end of this and allowing me to be able to deposit Bitcoin directly into Curve, which is an Ethereum powered, DeFi application. I'm going to end up with 0.04979. So I am losing a tiny bit here, but again, it's meaningless to me compared to the returns that I'm getting from being a liquidity provider. Okay. Next thing then is I've got to decide whether I'm just going to deposit this or whether I'm going to deposit and stake this. Staking it refers to the fact that on Mintr, Mintr is an application that allows me to, earn these additional SNX and Ren rewards from the Synthetix team. And so normally I would click deposit, and then I will receive a token that I'll show it to you after I do this, but it would say that it's a Curve token. And then I would go to Mintr and I would connect my MetaMask, per usual. So that's Mintr with it's mintr.synthetix.io. I click on LP rewards. I click on Curve Pool sBTC. And then I would go through, it's just 2 transactions. The first one, I have to give approval to basically move my tokens, and then I actually deposit it. And that'll be the final step that gets me to the point of earning these rewards. I believe I have the chance to actually skip that here. So I'm going to choose deposit and stake at the same time versus just deposit. And so just to sum it up once more, I'm in the sBTC pool. I'm in the deposit tab. I have clicked on the little X button to enable me to deposit Bitcoin BTC, not wrapped Bitcoin WBTC, not sBTC, not renBitcoin. I am starting with BTC from the Bitcoin network. And then I'm going to go ahead and click deposit and stake. Here we go. Okay, so the first step after I click that deposit and stake, you'll notice it's saying the estimated transaction cost is going to be $1.48. Okay, cool. There is some slippage involved, and this also, the slippage comes from depositing too many coins not in balance, and current coin prices are additionally accounted for. All this is saying is that the pool is more heavily weighted right now in renBitcoin, which is what I'm technically about to mint by depositing Bitcoin like from the Bitcoin network. And so anyways, long story short is if I were depositing something like sBTC, I actually would get a little kickback from that. And that's what helps to keep these one-to-one swap rates going. Okay, so anyways, the thing that I need to do as my next step is I'm going to use this address. I'm going to go and click copy. There we go. So notice that is a BTC address. That is where I'm depositing my 0.05 Bitcoin. Again, I do not want to deposit an Ethereum-powered token of Bitcoin like WBTC, sBTC, or renBitcoin. The whole point of this is that the Ren virtual machine or the Ren bridge is going to allow me to transform my Bitcoin into an Ethereum-powered token, which is renBTC. All right, so I'll be right back. I'm going to take this, go to my Bitcoin wallet, and I'm going to paste this in, and I'm going to send 0.05 Bitcoin, and then I'm going to wait for those block confirmations here. And once those go through, I can move on to another step. So I'm waiting for 6 block confirmations. Once that takes place, I'll then be able to move on to the next step. So I'll come back in a few minutes. I've found that in the past, this can take up to an hour, just depending on how congested the Bitcoin network is. And otherwise, that's really it. One other thing to note here is it says, please don't reuse addresses for swapping or depositing Bitcoin. This is really, really important. Do not reuse these Bitcoin addresses that are provided by the Ren virtual machine unless you have clicked that deposit button and you are entering in whatever amount of Bitcoin that you've designated up top here. I honestly don't know what would happen or like how reliable or unreliable it is that your Bitcoin would get transformed, but it's not worth taking a chance on. These are really new applications. I just follow the instructions to a T here. So please don't reuse this address. So the next time that I would want to deposit more Bitcoin, I would go through the same steps up above, click here, say how much Bitcoin I want to deposit, click deposit or deposit and stake if you're going to do what I'm doing, which is stake it in Mintr in the end. And then I'll get provided a new Bitcoin address. And then the last thing here is this is just the Ethereum wallet address that's connected right now. So this is what is going to eventually own this liquidity provision or this position that I'll have in the curve pool once I transform my Bitcoin into Ethereum powered tokens. I'm back again, and you'll notice that I've now got 1 of 6 confirmations. So again, I just be patient and wait until this little thing gets to 100%. This progress has been, ticking upwards. It started at 7% when I kicked off, indicating that I'm going to deposit Bitcoin, and then now we're up to 28% completion. If I click on that, it'll actually take me also to blockchain.info, and it'll show me the actual transaction that's confirming. Okay, I'm back about an hour later, and what I ended up doing was just refreshing this curve deposit page, And what was cool is before I clicked this X deposit, it was showing that there was one incomplete transaction. And then you'll notice below here, it's showing confirmed, as in like there were at least the 6 block confirmations. So we're still in this process, but we're almost there. We're quote unquote 78% complete. Okay, so the next thing that happened then was, without doing anything, just because this process had completed, I was prompted then with this MetaMask notification. And so I'm going to go ahead and click this. Please sign this message to send the free Meta transaction. Okay. So I'm doing that. That's not costing me any gas yet. And then let's see what happens next. Okay, cool. So your transaction has started. I know this is coming from the Ren bridge, which is what's helping me to get from, again, Bitcoin to Ren Bitcoin, but ultimately it's going to get split across Ren Bitcoin, wrapped Bitcoin, and sBTC, so that I'm a liquidity provider in this pool. And so I'll come back to this shortly, but again, you can see now I'm at 85% of this process being complete, and I'm using the same MetaMask wallet. The address is my like my DeFi-dad.eth address, the one that I use for doing public demos. And so yeah, that's what's ultimately going to own this position in Curve, this liquidity provision. So I'm back a few hours later, and I've put the children down, so now I can finish the video. If you need to leave your, your transformation of Bitcoin to a Curve liquidity provision in process, it's okay. As long as I've followed the steps that I've walked through in this video, I've essentially tied my fate to my MetaMask wallet. And so if I come back to this, I hit refresh. So I'm on curve.fi / sBTC / deposit. It's gonna, hook up to my wallet again, which in my case is MetaMask. And then I come back to this deposit interface and I don't see anything, but that's because of the fact that I did it through this this new beta version, which allows me to deposit actual Bitcoin. So once I click that, if we scroll down, there we go. Now we can see the transformation that I put through already. That is 100% complete. The swap is done. I can actually see it here on Etherscan. And so this was that last transaction that we were looking at. And all that's happened here is the fact that I deposited that Bitcoin, and now it is broken up into roughly what you see in the pool. So my renBTC is 48% or 49%. My wrapped BTC, because remember, this is my share of the pool. Notice my share is 0.002% of the pool. I deposited 0.05 Bitcoin. And so of that share, I've now got 0.02 renBTC, 0.015 wrapped BTC, and 0.00997741 synthetic Bitcoin. In order for me to earn returns or to earn rewards with Synthetix, which come in the form of the REN token and the SNX token, I have to actually take the Curve token that's been awarded to me, and I have to go stake that on Mintr. So there's two ways that I can do this to ensure that I'm getting my weekly rewards from this 10,000 SNX and 25,000 REN. I could just use the Curve interface, and you'll notice if I scroll up here, oh, let's see if it has that still. If I uncheck this, there we go. Okay, so I just unchecked this. Notice it says stake unstaked. It'll allow me here to actually deposit that curve token into what is Mintr, which is powered by Synthetix. So again, the goal here is to connect these two. I am connecting the work that I'm doing on Curve so that the Synthetix team that set up this program to reward me or incentivize me to become a liquidity provider on that pool, I have to stake my Curve token with them. Okay, so let's go ahead and just do it the simplest way. I think the easiest way for me to go about this is just to use the Curve interface. If I were to do this on Mintr, anyone can go to Mintr, mintr.synthetix.io. You'll end up on this dashboard after you connect your MetaMask. Make sure, of course, it's the same Ethereum wallet that I used to deposit and set up my LP position on Curve. I'm then clicking on the LP rewards tab, and then you'll notice Curve Pool sBTC. I click here, and then this will take me through two transactions. The first one is to give approval for the Mintr application to be able to move that token, and then the second one is the one that actually deposits it. So let's go ahead and do it instead from Curve. So I'm going to click Stake Unstaked. All right. And so this first transaction is the usual where I give approval to move my tokens. Let's see what it says. Again, if you don't have 100 tabs going with different DeFi apps, your computer should work faster. This is definitely a reflection of my very slow moving laptop. Okay, so I am going to double check what is the gas here, or what's the gas price. So I'm clicking edit. And then I'm going to click under advanced. All right, cool. So the gas price is currently 29.32 Gwei. I'm checking on my phone at ETH gasstation.info. Cool, this all makes sense. Actually, I could probably get away with 28 Gwei here and it'll still go through. Okay. Okay, whatever, we'll just put through at 29. A lot of the time, this is the difference of just a few cents, so it really doesn't matter probably to most, but I'm super cheap spending ETH as gas. The other thing is I'm going to click View Full Transaction Details. I want to see what I'm giving up permission to. Cool. So I'm giving up permission to move exactly the amount of this Curve CRV REN WSBTC token. So this is kind of like the IOU token I was given because of the fact that I am a liquidity provider in this pool. This is not the same token as CRV, the Curve governance token that will eventually be generated in the future, and it'll be awarded to those that are liquidity providers in Curve, which will be very similar to the way that the comp and the balancer governance tokens work. So, okay, this all looks good. I'm going to hit confirm. And here is the second transaction. So this will be the one that I give approval to actually, deposit that token into Mintr, which will then ensure that the Synthetix program is paying me weekly in SNX and REN tokens. All right, I'm going to use the same gas price. Nothing's changed. I'm paying $2.68 in gas. Again, I would caution anyone to just consider, if you ever notice the gas fee is higher, just hopefully you figured out how much you might make from working with this yield farming opportunity, and it should be more than what you're about to pay in gas. All right, so I'll hit confirm. Okay, so it looks like both of my transactions went through. I can see them both confirmed here in MetaMask. What I'm gonna do then is we should be able now to see this in Curve, and there it is. Yep, it all worked as planned. So let's pretend that I'm new to Mintr and I go to Mintr. There's no E in it, mintr.synthetix.io. You'll end up on a screen like this, the home screen. Then you want to click on LP rewards. And then I'm looking at the different incentives or liquidity mining or yield farming opportunities that they're offering. So these are 6 of them, and they label them as LP rewards. Click on the Curve Pool sBTC. Interesting. Okay, let's go ahead and try this just to see what happens. Actually, while we're waiting for that to load, if we go back to this, you notice now that I no longer have that right-hand side of the Curve interface that shows my share of the pool. That's because I've given up that share of the pool and I've deposited that into the Mintr platform. That's what's allowing me to get paid. So there's nothing wrong here. It just is because the IOU, the Curve token that I received, that ensures that I can cash out of this pool, has been deposited into Mintr. And so now Synthetix is that platform is holding it for me, and then they're actually paying me these rewards in SNX and the REN token. Okay, so this is something I'm just going to go ahead and unlock, and then I'll let the team know about this in case this is something that can be prevented in the future so others don't have to do this twice. All right, so be aware that if you go about this the same way that I did, where I deposited my Bitcoin through Curve, and then I ultimately decided to use the option that was here a few minutes ago, stake unstaked, which was referring to the fact that, here we go, I received this Curve.fi sBTC token, and that was the IOU that I received from Curve, and then I deposited it here, 0.05 Curve LP. So that's awesome. It's in here, and you can see that I am accruing these balancer pool tokens. Those balancer pool tokens are what link back to my SNX and my REN rewards. So this is done. I've completed this, and there's nothing else I need to do at this point other than just let this sit and accrue the rewards for me being an LP in the Curve pool. However, I could come back here at any point and I could click claim rewards. Claiming rewards, what it'll do is it'll take that balancer pool token that is worth SNX and REN. It's mostly SNX, but it's I don't know what the proportion is, but it's either like 90% SNX, 10% REN, or like 80% SNX and 20% REN. And it'll unwrap that token, and then it'll essentially then give me my SNX and REN. So that's one thing I could do if I wanted to claim it early. Another thing is, I could claim and unstake at the same time. This would be if in the future I wanted to get out of the Curve pool, the first thing I'm going to have to do is I need to unstake this Curve LP token, or I could choose claim rewards and unstake at the same time. I think it's always important that I understand how to exit this position, to reverse everything that I've done in order to get back to, in this case, Bitcoin. And so in the future, whenever let's say I'm done with this program in about 8 weeks, and I'd like to cash out my position here in Mintr, and then cash out the LP token that I have with Curve. What I'm going to do is click exit, claim, and unstake. That will do what I was just saying about unwrapping my balancer pool tokens, which then gives me my REN and my SNX token. I also, at that time, I believe that's when I'll be receiving the BAL governance token. In the future, I will also receive a Curve governance token. That's CRV. That's yet to be generated as of me recording this around like this, right around like July 4th, but in the future that'll be generated. And so if we go back to the article here, let's just double check where it says that here. Here we go. Here, your Curve and BAL reward tokens will be distributed to your wallet once they are live. My understanding is that the balancer governance tokens, which normally get awarded once a week by the balancer pool, which is, here we go. So we've got SNX and REN covered. That gets distributed to me when I click claim and unstake, or I can just click claim rewards. The other part of this equation, Curve, this is something coming in the future. So Curve has yet to start generating that, but I am going to earn that token by participating in this. And then the BAL governance token gets awarded automatically once a week. I'm fairly confident that that BAL governance token, that gets scooped up when you click claim rewards or claim and unstake. And I've got a feeling it's when you unstake, just because that would then give me back my, that would get me out of this position here in Mintr. Okay, so if I want to completely exit this position, then I would click claim and unstake. I now have my Curve LP token back. Then I go back to Curve, and I could do one of a few things. I could just click on the withdraw button. So make sure I'm in sBTC, because remember, there's lots of pools in Curve. I need to make sure that I'm in the correct one. Once I'm on deposit or withdraw, if I scroll down, I will be able to see a thing that says my pool share. So that means that I've unstaked from Mintr. I now have my Curve IOU here that shows what part of the pool I own. And then when I go to withdraw, I have a few different options. The way this works is I specify what percentage of my stake in the pool I want to pull out. For most people, that's probably 100%. So I would say I want to pull out everything. And then you notice it'll give you a breakdown of exactly what you have in the pool. And then I can withdraw that if I want. If this little button, let's see if I can uncheck that. Probably can't uncheck it right now because, oh, there we go. Now it worked. There's a little delay. Okay. I could withdraw and I could withdraw to any one of these, so I could choose to like exit the pool and remain in one of these Ethereum, 1-to-1 ERC20 tokens of Bitcoin. Or if I check this off, I can go all the way back to Bitcoin. So I would just click withdraw percentage into Bitcoin. And that would be it. And then you notice it says, what is your BTC withdrawal address? I haven't done this myself yet, but I think it's really important to just be aware that these are all the steps that I'll have to take. I think this is also pretty cool. I guess I don't even have to do the steps that I was going to take in Mintr. I could claim my SNX and REN rewards here, and then I could unstake it, and then I could go ahead and do the withdrawal. So, all these are, it's basically two different ways I can go about it. I can do it step by step in Mintr and then back to Curve, or I can do it all within Curve, just because they've built in this functionality that normally sits within the Mintr application. Before I go, I want to cover some of the risks that could come up once more. I think we covered quite a few of these as we walked through this, but I just want to reiterate some of these. First off, it is a pretty enormous innovation that one is able to deposit Bitcoin technically into the Curve application because of the REN protocol. And I'm calling that out because it is not possible to do this unless I check off that little box and I specify how much Bitcoin I'm going to deposit. And then I copy and paste this BTC address, and I don't reuse the addresses for any other like future transactions. This is just a one-time thing that allows me to get my Bitcoin transformed into an Ethereum ERC20 token. I just want to be very, very conscious of this and be very, very careful that I don't confuse myself and start to think that I can send Bitcoin in a Bitcoin wallet directly over to Ethereum. It is not possible without this application powered by REN that gives me a BTC address. Okay, so that being understood, I think the next risk is just making a common, simple mistake of not copying this. So just, it's easy. You just click there, copy when you're ready to, or when I'm, in this case, ready to deposit my Bitcoin into Curve. I just am always very, very careful to check the first few letters and the last few letters to make sure that when I paste that into my Bitcoin wallet or wherever I'm sending that from, I just want to make sure those match up so that I don't accidentally send this to the wrong address and that it's like one digit off. So I would be very, very, very diligent about that. Another thing, okay, so beyond that, those are more of like manual mistakes that I could make. Another thing, of course, is smart contract risk. If I'm using Curve and I become a liquidity provider, there's always a chance there's a smart contract bug. I could use nexusmutual.io and go there to try to obtain smart contract coverage, or the way I think about it is smart contract insurance. So that's another option. The next one is I could find myself in trouble in the future. You'll notice that it's 20% synthetic Bitcoin, 31% wrapped Bitcoin, and about almost 50% REN Bitcoin. Let's pretend that I don't want exposure to one of these for some reason, or I am less comfortable with one of these. There is a chance that that one token could suddenly become the more dominant token in this pool, and that, let's say, wrapped Bitcoin is a much more liquid ERC20 version of Bitcoin. Let's just pretend that someone withdraws it all. A liquidity provider pulls their share out and they say, I want it all in wrapped Bitcoin. They could really create a very lopsided pool. That's another thing to consider. I am fairly confident. Let's see if I can pull it up here. I'm fairly confident that Curve has an admin key. Let's see if I can find it. And this is like most DeFi applications that are, most of these applications are less than a year old. And so if they are, I always assume that there's probably some admin key that, is a risk for me. Let's see, security audits. Okay, so Curve smart contracts were audited by Trail of Bits. So that goes back to the smart contract risk that I always consider. Please don't supply your life savings or assets you can't afford to lose to Curve, especially as a liquidity provider. So again, these are pretty common sorts of warnings. Using Curve as an exchange user could be significantly less risky, but this is not advice. Yep, yeah, that all makes sense to me. If I'm trading, I'm getting in and out pretty quickly with Curve, but if I'm a liquidity provider, I'm leaving my funds here, and so that's putting me at risk. Let's see here. And then, of course, there's more risks here, like systemic issues with renBitcoin, wrappBitcoin, or sBTC. So those would be like concerns that sit outside of Curve. Let's pretend that, I don't know, there's something wrong with the token synthetic Bitcoin. And then there's a crisis then where everyone's trying to trade out of synthetic Bitcoin and get over to one of these other two versions that are ERC20 versions of Bitcoin. Let's see, another thing, systemic issues with Synthetix when staking. So if Mintr is having smart contract issues, let's say it has a bug suddenly, Curve cannot overcome the fact that they would have a smart contract bug. So yeah, these are all the different risks that I think about. And that is probably why, in terms of total exposure to like something like this, I just, like to think about, okay, like how much am I going to earn? And, can I risk, let's pretend it's like 1% of my total portfolio. 1% that would be pretty awesome. That's keeping it limited to 1% of your portfolio is a really great way to prevent yourself from going through some sort of a disaster here. But other than that, I think that's all the risks to consider. Please comment on YouTube or Twitter if you think of any others that I'm not covering here. Okay, so that's all I've got for you today. I hope this is helpful. I've been using Curve myself since I think February, and Synthetix for about a year. So I'm a big fan of these liquidity mining / yield farming experiments. And I think it's just a really good example of taking idle assets and putting them to work and allowing them to earn me multiple forms of yield, which in this case, I counted 5 in total. There was SNX, REN, the Curve governance token, eventually when it gets generated in the future, Balancer's governance token, and then there's also the market making interest that I could potentially be earning